I don't know about you, but in this season of my life, I can't afford for everybody to put their hands on me. I don't know who I'm talking to, but the truth of the matter is the reason that some of us are still as broken as we are is because when we fell apart, we've allowed illegal people to put their hands on the broken pieces of my life. I should have been put back together a long time ago, but instead of Mr. Humphrey looking for the king, he settled for the king's men. But I know in this season of my life, I don't want the king's men, I need the king. The truth of the matter is, I've allowed people who couldn't do anything for me to touch me. Too long, I've allowed people who couldn't help me or assist me attempt to do their thing. But tell somebody for the first time today that God is putting the pieces back together. They're going to talk to me here. I said, God told me to tell the church He's putting the pieces back together. The pieces of your life, I feel like preaching, the pieces of your life that you know about, and the pieces of your life that don't nobody else know about. I'm talking about the hidden things of your life. I'm talking about the places that nobody can see, the things that you go home and wrestle with, the broken areas of your life. God said this, God said, I'm putting the pieces of your life back together. The things you've been battling with for decades, the things you've been going through in your family, the things you've been going through in your money, the things you've been going through in even your ministry. God sent me to New York to tell somebody I'm getting ready to put the pieces back together. Is there anybody in here who said, preacher, I ain't gonna lie to you, there were some areas that been broken in my life. I'm not gonna lie to you, I ain't gonna trip. The fact of the matter is I come to church week in and week out, and there's still some broken areas of my life. The truth of the matter is I sing but I'm broken. I dance but I've been broken. I come to rehearsal but I've been broken. I even preach broken. But the Holy Ghost told me to tell you the pieces are coming back together. I found somebody for the second time already and say, neighbor, get ready to come back together. It is very interesting now, the language and the dialogue of Apostle Paul to this Colossian church. He begins praying. I'm on my way out of here. He begins praying for the growth of the church. He's praying about their kingdom advancement. He's praying that they continue to promote God's agenda in the earth. He admonishes them to stay the course. My brothers and sisters, sometimes the greatest attack in your life comes when you decide to be all about your Father's business. When I was doing my own thing, I didn't have half of the problems that I have now. But it wasn't until I gave God a complete yes that things really started to go haywire. I wish I had somebody here who understands now when you are no longer a tool for the enemy, you become a threat to the enemy. I said when you are no longer a tool for the enemy, you now become a threat to the enemy. And that's the reason he's trying to attack you. And it looks like he's turned the volume up on the fire because you decided that come one day, sink or swim, I'm going to live for God. How many understand now that they used to tell us that it is the will of God that is the safest place in the whole wide world? But Bishop, they forgot to tell us is that although it's the safest place, it's also a trying place. Simply because the enemy wants to try your testimony. He wants to try your witness. He wants to try your praise. He wants to try your prayer life. And that's the reason the attack on your livelihood has become increasingly worse day by day. Because as I grow in God, the the enemy knows he had better turn the fire up, because there's nothing that can turn me around now. Back in the day, I used to get funky. I used to throw my head around when stuff would come my way. But as the elder said, I'm a little bit mature now in God. So there's certain things that don't shake me. So he can't fight you with what he used to fight you with. So now he has to turn his mechanisms and turn different things on that used to didn't happen. Now they're turning haywire. Everything was good at first, but now it looks like my money keeps on depleting. Everything was cool, but now it looks like all my friends walk out on me. It's because I've gotten more mature in God, and I decided to be about my Father's business. But how many know that the eagle-eyed prophet Isaiah penned it one day and said, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper." I find somebody for the third time today and tell them, say, neighbor, it cannot work. It came, but it cannot work. Y'all ain't talking. I said it came my way, but it will not work. Many are the afflictions where my church at of the righteous, but God will deliver us out of them all. You remember Job? He was the richest man in the East. He loved God and eschewed evil. But one day, his entire life did a 180-degree turn. Without warning, without preparation or dress rehearsal. Everything Job knew was gone. He lost his money. He lost his cattle. He lost his children. And he even lost his health. All in one day. Tell somebody, all in one day. Thing this man did not lose. He did not lose his mind. And I just want to tell somebody in here, regardless of what you lost, you have not lost your mind. I wish I had somebody in here to testify. I lost a whole lot, but I did not lose my mind. I didn't go crazy when I should have went crazy. I didn't cuss nobody out when they should have been cussed out. I didn't slap nobody in the face. I may have lost some friends, but I did not lose my mind. And because I didn't lose my mind, I can echo David when he said, I will bless the Lord at all times, and his praises shall continually be in my mouth. So the man Job, he didn't lose his mind. Instead, what he did, Bishop, he ripped his clothes. He fell down in sackcloth and ashes. He shaved his head and he worshipped and said, the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. But blessed be the name of the Lord. The continuity of my response to God will always be yes, Lord. I wish I had somebody in here who said that's my response in this season. Yes, Lord. Regardless of this and regardless of that, I will keep a yes, Lord, on my lips. The Lord gives and the Lord takes away, but he's still good anyhow. I'm coming to my close. Oh, God have mercy. Paul then begins in the book of Colossians to talk about the wonders of an invisible God. He says it this way, for by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones, dominions, principalities or powers. All things were created by him, and all things were created for him. He's the God that creates the darkness. He's the God, where my church that creates the light. He's the God that creates good. And he's the God that creates evil. faithful. Tell somebody around you, say, neighbor, he created this for his glory. He created my situation for his glory. He created my circumstance for his glory. Everything was created by him, and then everything was created for him. So if I'm in something uncomfortable and it's unusual to me, I must recall to my mind that he created it for him and he created it by him. So if he created it for him, I'm only in it for his glory. Why don't you tell somebody, I'm getting ready to go, and tell somebody, say, neighbor, this was created for his glory. Y'all ain't talking to nobody. I said this thing was created for his glory. The sickness in my body was created for his glory. The reason why I'm lacking in my bank account, it must be for his glory. And then in 17, verse 17 says, and he is before all things, and by him I'm getting ready to fly. All things consist, for he holds all things together. Good evening, church. Greater Sessions Cathedral. I just stopped by on my way to heaven to tell somebody he's holding you together. I don't know where you are in the building today, but I came to tell you he's holding you together. Hold me together in my pain. Hold me together in my struggle. Hold me together in my trouble. Hold me together in my affliction. Hold me together when I'm going through. Hold me together when I'm suffering. Hold me together when I want to break down. I wish I had somebody who can testify to the preacher and say he's holding me together. I would have died, but he held me together. I should have broke down, but he held me together. I should have lost my mind, but he held me together. I should have went crazy, but he held me together. I should have committed suicide, but he held me together. I should have committed homicide, but he held me together. I almost went to jail, but he held me together. I should have killed somebody, but he held me together. I didn't slap nobody, because he held me together. I wanted to quit a long time ago. Said forget you and your church, forget you and your ministry, forget you and this stuff. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going back into the world. I'm going to drink my drink and smoke my weed. But he held me. He held me together. I almost broke down. I almost gave up. But he held me. He held me. He held me. He held me together. I found a neighbor. It's a neighbor. He folded me. He folded me. He folded me. Hold me together. When I want to break down. Hold me together. When things going away. Hold me together. Hold me together. Where y'all at in here? Open up your mouth and give God the praise. But he held me. He held me together. Held my family. Held my family together. Held my money. Held my money together.